Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first part of our three-part review of Spanish 1 concepts. So in this presentation, this is what we're going to talk about. First of all, the irregular verb ser, which was the very first verb that you learned back in Spanish 1. Then we're going to look at using conjugated forms of ser plus de plus place names to express where you or others are from. After that, we're going to look at using conjugado, that's nice, conjugated ser plus adjectives to describe personality traits and physical attributes, because that's one of the big uses of ser. After that, we'll look at the irregular verb ir, which was one of the last verbs that you learned in Spanish 1, and we will look at a very specific construction that uses that verb that's conjugated, again with the mispronouncing conjugated, wow, conjugated ir plus a plus a verb in the infinitive to express actions you and others are going to take in the future. All right, let's get started. We're going to begin with the irregular verb ser, of course. Now, this verb, which was, as I said, the first one you learned in Spanish 1, is completely irregular. And what that means is that its forms cannot be created by the normal practice of derivation. And because of this, you have to memorize them. Most verbs in Spanish don't have to be memorized, but irregular ones do. And ser is irregular. So these are the forms. Please make sure you've committed them to memory. When the subject is yo, the form of ser is soy. When the subject is tú, the form of ser is eres. When the subject is él or ella or usted or any singular noun, the form of ser is es. When the subject is nosotros or nosotras, or anybody plus y yo, that's the letter Y plus the word yo, that means and I, the form of ser for this subject is somos. Now, we don't use vosotros forms in this course, so we're going to skip second person plural, which was what this would be, and move on to third person plural, that's ellos, ellas, ustedes, or any plural noun or any series of nouns joined by the letter Y, E, which means and. When all of those things are the subject, the form of ser you use is son. So again, the 5 forms we'll be using in this class: soy, eres, es, somos, and son. Simple enough. These textbook forms, by the way, if you need to review them, are on textbook page 21. All right, our first topic then. Using forms of ser plus de plus a place to say where you and others are from. This construction, by the way, is only used to state the place where you were born, not the place where you're located or where you live now. Okay, that's something different. So again, it's just conjugated ser plus the preposition de plus a proper noun that names a place. Very straightforward. Okay, I happen to be from California. So to express that, I would say, soy de Los Angeles, for example, because I am. And of course, if I just wanted to talk about the state, I could say, soy de California. That's it. Notice, I don't bother, why did that freeze? I don't bother with putting a yo in front of the soy. Why? Because Spanish as a language is something that's called pro-drop. And that means that whenever you can drop your subject nouns or pronouns, you should. The language wants you to. Because there's no other possible subject for soy other than yo, if I were to say yo soy de Los Angeles, I would be being emphatic, right? Because I'm clarifying, quote unquote, something that doesn't need to be clarified. Yo is obviously already the subject of soy. So it goes without saying. It really does. And so when we say it, it means that we intend to add a level of emphasis that we would achieve in English by adding an extra level of voice stress, by saying, I'm from Los Angeles, meaning, and you're not. But if I just meant to say, normally, stating a fact, I'm from Los Angeles, then simply, soy de Los Angeles, no subject pronoun at all is correct, okay? All right. Both of these sentences, soy de Los Angeles, soy de California, Answer the questions ¿de dónde eres? And or ¿de dónde es usted? They mean the exact same thing. Where are you from? The only difference is the level of formality, right? ¿De dónde eres? Informal. ¿De dónde es usted? Formal. For you guys to ask me the question, because I am your professor, the appropriate level of formality does indeed use usted and is ¿de dónde es usted? Okay? All right, let's keep going. Our second topic, then continuing, is still using ser plus de plus place to say where you and others are from. Obviously, it's been a long day, y'all. Here's that construction again. And notice it's just always the same thing. A lot of you mentioned feeling unsure about sentence structure. So in these opening weeks, we're going to take a very structural approach to the language so that you can start to see that it's very logical. Spanish has a strong internal logic and it obeys its own rules, right? So again, our construction, conjugated form of ser plus the preposition de plus the proper noun that names a place. We're going to see this over and over. Here's some more examples. Keep your eye on that sentence structure. For example, mi mejor amigo es de Mississippi. That's how you write Mississippi in Spanish, by the way. And of course, the question that statement would answer is, ¿de dónde es tu mejor amigo? Look at the sentence inversion, right? Our subject is over here in the question. It moves to the head of the sentence in the answer. Mi mejor amigo. The third person verb form stays the same. Estés es. We keep our preposition from the question, de. And then what we do is we supply the information that the question seeks from us. The where part, right? Where's your best friend from? My best friend is from Mississippi. Let's look at some more. I could also say, mi padre es de Ohio, right? Same. Subject, mi padre. Conjugated form of ser, es. Preposition de. Proper noun for place, Ohio, right? Subject, verb, preposition, proper noun for place. And of course, here I am specifying my subject because es, the third person singular conjugated form of ser in the present tense, has a lot of different potential subjects. So I do need to specify who the subject of this verb is. It's not obvious the way it is when the subject is yo or tú or nosotros. All right. Anyway, saying mi padre es de Ohio answers the question, ¿de dónde es tu padre? Or I could say something like, mis abuelos son de Pensilvania. This is how you write Pennsylvania in Spanish, obviously. Again, notice the structure is staying constant. We have subject noun, right? Conjugated form of ser, preposition de, proper noun for place. And of course, that answers that sentence, mis abuelos son de Pensilvania, answers the question, ¿de dónde son tus abuelos? Good? Good. Let's move on. Let's talk about using a conjugated form of ser plus an adjective or adjectives to describe personality traits and physical attributes. So here's the construction for this. It's, a conjugated form of ser plus adjective or adjectives that fully agree with the person being described. And that person, of course, if they need to be named, will be on this side of the conjugated form over here because they will be the subject of the sentence. Yeah? All right, so let's look at adjectives for personality traits. Here, I am just one woman, so all my adjectives are singular, right? These adjectives, by the way, I'm going to use all happen to be two-form adjectives. They only have number. They do not have gender. Two-form adjectives can only be singular or plural. They have no not availability, it's ability. Sometimes Professor Jones' words just go flying out of her brain. All right, so they only have number. They do not have the ability to show gender. Two-form adjectives. They either have singular form or plural form. That's it. So let's have a look. Talking about my own personality traits, I would say things like, soy inteligente, soy realista, soy paciente. All of these things are true. Notice again here, when I am talking about myself, I'm using, of course, the yo form of ser, which is soy, but I have no need to use the subject pronoun yo, right? Spanish is pro-drop. Whenever we can drop our subject pronoun and the meaning of the sentence still remains clear, we do that. The subject of soy is unambiguously yo. It doesn't need to be said. If I were to say it, I would be being emphatic. It would be the equivalent of saying, I'm intelligent, with that added voice stress in English. English has an extra level of voice stress that Spanish doesn't have. So Spanish makes up for that missing voice stress level by using grammar to give the emphasis. And the way you do that is by including a subject pronoun where none is necessary, as in the case of saying, yo soy inteligente. That is equal to being emphatic and saying, I'm intelligent, as opposed to, whomever. But when you're just normally stating things, the correct thing to do is to just begin your sentence with the conjugated yo form of the verb. That's all you need to do. And so that's why each of these sentences begin with soy. Soy inteligente, soy realista, soy paciente. And of course, I could condense these all down into one sentence and say, soy inteligente, realista y paciente. Just putting a comma between inteligente and realista. Okay? All of these statements answer the question, ¿cómo eres? And ¿cómo es usted? Again, these questions mean the same thing. In this case, they mean, what are you like as a person? The only difference is the level of formality of address. ¿Cómo eres? Is an informal question. ¿Cómo es usted? Is a formal question. ¿Cómo es usted? Would be the appropriate question for you to ask me, right? ¿Cómo eres? Is the appropriate question for me to ask you. I treat you, my students, each one of you, as tú, but you all treat me, your professor, as usted. Respect and proper address are really important in Spanish and in Spanish-speaking cultures. So it really does matter when you use tú and when you use usted. Generally, if anyone is older than you, treat them as usted until they tell you overtly, it's okay to call me tú. If somebody is the same age as you or younger, it's probably okay to use tú with them from the word go, unless they are your doctor or your lawyer or your professor. Although some of you are really young, so it'd be very strange if you had doctors, lawyers, and professors that were the same age as you all who are in high school. But some of you are not young like that. So for those of you who are my age-ish, that's just something to keep in mind. All right. Let's keep going. So again, here's the construction for what we're doing. It's a conjugated form of ser plus an adjective or adjectives that fully agree with the person being described. And if you name the person, if you name the person, that person's name will be over here to the left of the conjugated form of ser. So let's talk about physical attributes. For me, I am one woman. All my adjectives will have to be feminine and singular. I happen to have used all 4-form adjectives for these examples, so they do have gender, right? They're called 4-form adjectives because they can be masculine and singular, that's 1. Feminine and singular, that's 2. Masculine and plural, that's 3. Or feminine and plural, that's 4. Okay, so let's look at these sentences. Describing myself physically. Soy baja. Yep, that's true. I am not a tall woman. Soy morena, although actually I have light brown hair, and so in many parts of the Spanish-speaking world, they still consider me rubia, blonde, which was what I was as a child. Not that that's terribly important or something I should talk about much longer. Soy delgada. Sí, soy delgada. Okay? The thing to notice here, these are 4-form adjectives. I am making them agree in gender and number with me, a single female person. And so that's why they all end in A. If I was a guy, I would say soy bajo, soy moreno, soy delgado. But I'm not. I'm a woman. Soy baja, soy morena, soy delgada. And of course, I could collapse this all into just one sentence and say soy baja, morena y delgada. Totally could do that. I just wanted to keep repeating the structure here so you could see it. Again, all of these statements also answer the question, ¿Cómo eres? And or, ¿Cómo es usted? And those questions still mean exactly the same thing, although in this context, they mean, how are you physically, right? Kind of what do you look like, if you will. But yeah, the only difference, level of formality. ¿Cómo es usted? Is the formal question, appropriate for you all to ask me. And ¿Cómo eres? ¿Cómo eres? Is the informal question, appropriate for me to ask each one of you. All right? All right. Oh, and I need to have a sip of coffee. Sorry. My throat always tickles when I make these videos. All right. One more time with our construction. Conjugated form of ser plus adjectives that fully agree with the person being described. And if needed, over here on the left, a subject noun or pronoun or noun phrase, right? So let's use this Let's use this construction to describe one other person. When we do that, it'll be something like this. Mi madre es baja. Look at the structure. Here's subject. Here's conjugated form of ser. And here's an adjective that agrees with the person being described. Madre, right? My mother. Single, female person. Form of four-form adjective. Singular, female, baja. And of course, that answers the question, ¿Cómo es tu madre? Or for example, I could say, mi mejor amiga es cómica. Same thing. Look at the structure. Whoops, look at the structure. Subject, conjugated form of ser, properly agreeing adjective. And of course, this answers the question, ¿Cómo es tu mejor amiga? ¿Cómo es tu mejor amiga? Mi mejor amiga es cómica. And she is. She's very funny. Mi padre es serio. Note how the adjective, singular, female, serio, agrees with the singular, female, no. Masculine, singular, serio, agrees with masculine, singular, noun, padre. And of course, this answers the question, ¿Cómo es tu padre? ¿Cómo es tu padre? Mi padre es serio. It's true, he is, but he's also really funny. And for example, again, mi novio es trabajador. Trabajador is a four-form adjective, right? Novio is singular masculine noun. Trabajador is the singular masculine form of the adjective to agree. And of course, this answers the question, ¿Cómo es tu novio? Mi novio es trabajador. The textbook, by the way, gives you a huge number of adjectives on page 30. Okay, so you should definitely check that out. One more time with our structure, because structure is kind of everything. It's a conjugated present tense form of the verb ser, soy, eres, es, somos, son, plus adjectives / adjectives that fully agree with the person being described, which if you need to name that person, will be over here on the left-hand side of the verb, right? So let's use this construction to describe more than one person. And what you're going to notice here is that all our adjectives are plural, right? So I could say, mis abuelos son viejos. Look at all these plural adjectives. Possessive plural adjective mis. Possessive, plural descriptive adjective viejos. It has been a heck of a first week and a half of class, and my brain is not right, y'all. I am sorry. All right, one more time. Possessive plural adjective mis. Plural descriptive, I almost did it again, plural descriptive adjective viejos, both are agreeing with the plural noun, abuelos. Adjective agrees, adjective agrees. And of course, the structure stays constant. This is our subject, right? This is our conjugated form of ser, and here is the adjective that's showing full agreement with the noun it's modifying, which is plural abuelos. And of course, the question is, ¿Cómo son tus abuelos? ¿Cómo son tus abuelos? Mis abuelos son viejos, right? Or we could have this sentence, for example, mis amigas son bonitas. And note again the full adjective noun agreement, right? We have the plural possessive adjective mis agreeing with plural noun amigas, and we have the feminine plural descriptive adjective bonitas agreeing again with the feminine plural noun, amigas. ¿Cómo son tus amigas? Mis amigas son bonitas. The structure is staying constant. We're just plugging in different elements, right? Mis padres, I could say, mis padres son generosos. Because they are. Again, just keep noting the agreement, right? If your noun ends in S, every single adjective associated with that noun better end in S too, right? Note, mis ends in S. Generosos ends in S. But also note, when your subject noun ends in S, your verb form will never end in S. Not ever. Whenever your subject noun is plural, your verb form throughout all tenses in the language will end in N, always, okay? Adjective noun agreement is one thing. Subject verb agreement is a different thing. Those are two different processes. So please, when you talk about the language, don't say things like making words agree. That's not good. You need to be precise. We're either making adjectives agree with nouns, or we're making verbs agree with subjects. Sorry, that's the way that works. Verbs agree with their subjects, adjectives agree with their nouns. All right? And finally, one last example. Mis sobrinas son cómicas. Again, just note the full agreement. If you have a noun that ends in an S, again, every single related adjective, whether it's possessive mis or descriptive cómicas, is gonna end in an S too. It has to, okay? Again, we still have the same structure we've been using this whole time. Here, subject noun phrase. Here, conjugated form of ser. Here, adjective. That's all there is to it. Again, the textbook really does give you a ton of adjectives on page 30. It was very early in Spanish 1 that they did that. Make sure to review it before your composition. All right, let's go to another irregular verb then. This one is ir, which is one of the very last verbs presented in Spanish 1, and it is also wholly irregular. This means its forms cannot be created via the normal practice of derivation, and because of that, they have to be memorized. We're going to talk about derivation a lot in the next 2 videos, so don't worry about that right now. For right now, just make sure you have memorized the conjugated forms of this verb. They are, when the subject is yo, the form of ir is voy. When the subject is tú, the form of ir is vas. When the subject is third person singular, that's él or ella or usted or any singular noun, the form of ir is va. When the subject is nosotros or nosotras or anybody plus y yo, that's anybody plus and I, right? The form of ir is vamos. We don't use vosotros, so second person plural is out of the picture. By the way, yo is first person singular, nosotros is first person plural, tú is second person singular, the vosotros we don't use is second person plural, él, ella, usted, third person singular, which brings us to the marvelous third person plural. These are the correct grammatical names for these parts of the conjugation process, right? Third person plural, that's ellos, ellas, ustedes, any plural noun or any series of nouns joined by the conjunction y, that's the letter y, meaning and. Whenever any of that is the subject, the form of ir that you'll use is van. And please note something about pronunciation there. In Spanish, there is a written letter B and a written letter V. But when you go to say them, they're both said the same way. They're both pronounced as B's. The V sound that we have in English, like vehicle and vaccination, that V doesn't exist in Spanish. It's all B. Voy, vas, va, vamos, van. Those are the 5 forms of ir that you need to know. And they are on textbook page 126, by the way. All right, let's use these conjugated forms for something then. Let's use conjugated ir plus a plus infinitive, that's an unconjugated verb, to state actions you and others are going to do in the future. This construction is actually properly known as the proximate future, and it is the only future tense you're going to get unless you go deep into Spanish 3, right? It's not going to come up in Spanish 2. There is another future tense in Spanish, but again, not taught as part of Spanish 2. All right. Again, this structure is just conjugated ir plus the preposition a plus an unconjugated verb. By the way, this preposition a has no translatable value at all in English. None. Zero, zip, zilch. All right, so talking about what I'm going to do tomorrow, this is what I would say. Voy a trabajar mañana. Notice again, when the subject is yo, I don't begin my sentence with the subject pronoun yo. I just begin it with the conjugated yo form of this verb because I don't need to be emphatic. I don't need to say here the equivalent of I'm going to work tomorrow. And by the way, this is going to work as in the action of working, not the destination going to work like going to your office, okay? That's a different thing. This is I'm going to engage in the action of working tomorrow, right? So, voy a trabajar mañana. And what else would I say for my plans for tomorrow? Voy a correr mañana, because I am. I am an avid runner. I'm training for a half marathon, and tomorrow is Thursday, which is a scheduled run day. But more than anything, notice the structure. Conjugated form of ir plus preposition a plus unconjugated verb. This lets me state my future actions, right? Both of these sentences answer the question, ¿qué vas a hacer mañana? And ¿qué va a hacer usted mañana? Again, they both mean the exact same thing. What are you going to do tomorrow? The difference is the level of formality. The informal question is this one, right? The formal question, the one that would be appropriate for one of you to ask me, is this one. ¿Qué va a hacer usted mañana? The one I would ask any single one of you all is this. ¿Qué vas a hacer mañana? Okay? Let's keep going. So, again, here's our construction. Conjugated form of ir first, then an a, and then an unconjugated verb, which of course is known as a verb and infinitive. When you need to state the subject, you will do so over here, to the left-hand side of the conjugated form of ir. So let's see some more example. So with brain is not good today, with things people are going to do tomorrow, right? And we're going to note the sentence structure for this. Mi padre va a limpiar la casa mañana. Look at this structure. It's great. Here's our subject, right? Here's the conjugated form of ir that agrees with that subject. The subject is the singular noun padre. The verb conjugates third person singular to agree. That's va. Then we have our a, and then we have our unconjugated verb, the infinitive limpiar. And then, of course, predicate complements that complete the meaning, right? What's he going to clean? The house, because my dad is a very tidy man. Very tidy. All right. Mi mejor amigo va a ir al cine mañana. Again, let's look at the structure. Here's our subject noun phrase. It's a singular noun. That means it's a third person singular subject. Here's the form of ir that agrees with that third person singular subject. It's third person singular va. Then we have an a. Then we have an infinitive. Oh, it's ir again. That's totally fine, right? And then we have all our necessary predicate complements to finish the meaning of our sentence. Totally fine. Or we could say, for example, changing subjects, mi mejor amiga y yo. Look at that. Mi mejor amiga y yo. My best friend and I, that's we, right? Because both of us are women, that's nosotras. And agreeing with that, we have, of course, the nosotros form of ir, which is vamos. So we have, again, subject right here, conjugated verb immediately following, and then our a, and then our infinitive, in this case, cenar. And then after that, of course, the predicate complements that complete the sentence's meaning. Mi mejor amiga y yo vamos a cenar en un restaurante mañana. By the way, you will very often hear me make a different sound for the Y than normal. This is because I spent a long time in Argentina, and I also had an Argentinian boyfriend for a very long time. And so I picked up their pronunciation of the Y and the double L, which is a zh sound. I try not to use it when I'm recording for you all because it's just a dialectical variation. It's not the standard pronunciation of the Y in Spanish when it's in that position. But if you hear me do it, that's why. Okay, it's my time in Argentina and living in Chile with my Argentine boyfriend. Go figure. All right. Finally, mis abuelos van a leer el periódico mañana. And again, just look at the structure for a sec. Here's our subject, right? It's the plural noun abuelos. What do we have then? The third person plural conjugation of ir, which is van. And then same structure. The preposition a, the verb in infinitive leer, and the predicate complements that complete the meaning of the sentence. That's how we work with this. All right, I hope that this has been helpful to you and not overlong. Again, this is the first video in a group of 3 to help you review Spanish 1 concepts. I almost said compliments. I really wish my brain would start working properly. Spanish 1 concepts before you have your composition next week. Thank you all. Muchísimas gracias a todos y hasta pronto. Chao.